life itself.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and we're going to talk about how Darth Vader has a secret connection to the Mandalorian. That's right, we're going to talk about how Anakin Skywalker is one half of a dyad in the Force.
What?
That's right, the Chosen One himself is part of a lineage of Force Dyads that began during the events of the Acolyte. A lineage of Dyads continue with Rey and Ben and the Rise of Skywalker. And we know the other half of Anakin's dyad, and it's gonna be...
Grogu!
Yes! Din Grogu, former Jedi Padawan turned Mandalorian apprentice, is part of this same Force lineage. And this all connects to the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Plagueis, and the next trilogy of Star Wars films. Okay, first, let's give a quick refresher on what exactly a Force Dyad is and how they're connected to dark side magic and the Sith. So a Force Dyad is when two powerful Force users are connected by an unbreakable bond in the Force, a bond that connects the two beings across space and time. And as Palpatine said in The Rise of Skywalker, a dyad in the Force is...
a power like life itself.
Now, people who are part of a Force Dyad seem to be more attuned to advanced Force abilities like Force healing. Keep that little factoid in mind for later. Noted. Oh, and by the way, a little later in the video, we're going to show you guys some awesome new merch that just dropped at our store, as well as tell you about our upcoming live show where you guys get to meet us in person. It's a lot of fun. More details coming later in the video. Okay, so there was a prophecy similar to the prophecy of the Chosen One who will bring balance to the Force. A prophecy that spoke of Force Dyads, something that had not been seen for generations at the time of the Rise of Skywalker. Now, after the events of the Acolyte, we learned that Mae and Osha were a dyad, and likely the dyad that Sidious was referring to when he said,
Unseen for generations.
Now, we think that Darth Sidious and his Sith Master, Darth Plagueis, spent decades looking for a dyad in the Force because they want what all Sith want. In the Legends novel, Darth Plagueis, which isn't canon,
Not yet.
in that novel, we see Plagueis and Palpatine attempt to perverse the Force with their manipulations using the dark side. They even attempt to create life. Now, Colton and many Star Wars fans have had a theory for a long time that Anakin Skywalker was actually created by Plagueis and Palpatine. And don't get me wrong, a theory is a theory, but Colton is like obsessed with this theory. So, in the spirit of the holiday season, I'm gonna let him explain it to you guys.
Thank you. So, we all know that in The Phantom Menace, it is confirmed that Anakin Skywalker was the result of a virgin birth.
Who was his father?
There was no father.
Now, in Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine heavily implies that he and his master, Darth Plagueis, were responsible for the creation of Anakin Skywalker. He implies that he and Plagueis influenced the midichlorians, aka the Force, to
Create life.
Now, in the original script for Revenge of the Sith, Lucas did actually have Palpatine confirm to Anakin that he was his creator. He even says Anakin could think of him as his father. Now, Lucas did take this line out, and the official Star Wars canon states that Anakin was actually created by the Force itself in response to Plagueis and Palpatine's dark side manipulation of the Force, and for daring to attempt to create life and sway the Force to the dark side. But in a roundabout way, that would mean that Palpatine and Plagueis' failed attempt at creating life did still indirectly create a life, creating Anakin Skywalker. And it's possible that Palpatine is of the personal belief that he did create Anakin, whether or not that's true. And it was also in this same scene from Revenge of the Sith that Palpatine essentially talks about Force healing.
He could even keep the ones he cared about from dying.
And he alludes to the power of two, a Sith tradition, which would connect to their obsession with dyads in the Force.
And you know what? Say what you will about the Disney era of Star Wars, but one thing they've handled super well is connecting all the different Star Wars stories across the spanning decades. One thing I've really appreciated is their embrace of Legends material. Despite like whiny complainers here on the internet who try to pretend like Star Wars is neglecting its lore, they've actually canonized a lot of great stuff from the novels. But I really appreciate how they've explored the inner workings of things like Virgences in the Force and their connection to dyads, virgin births, and my favorite, dark side magic. Magic with a K. So a Virgins in the Force isn't just when the Force results in the virgin birth. In The Phantom Menace, when Qui-Gon presents his theory on Anakin being a virgin in the Force, Mace Windu says,
Located around a person?
Virgins, as it turns out, can surround a person, place, or a thing. So it's a noun. Exactly. The Acolyte introduced the concept of a Virgins in the Force being connected to a dyad in the Force.
Virgins could create life.
like what we see on this planet.
Mae and Osha were created using the power of a Force Virgins, a virgins that the Jedi sensed on the planet Brindok.
We are looking for a virgins.
These witches seemingly use what we can only assume is dark side magic with a K, similar to that of the Night Sisters that we saw in Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and the Ahsoka series. Now, in Clone Wars and Rebels, as well as in some canon comics, we saw Sidious study and use dark side magic. Take this scene with the Cauldron in Clone Wars Season 6, or this scene with the Cauldron and Blue Flames in Rebels. During our coverage of the Acolyte, we talked a lot about this introduction of Force magic and its connection to Virginses in the Force, Force healing, and Dyads in the Force. Essentially, we theorized that this was giving us the origin of Anakin Skywalker, and finally pulling back that curtain to the secrets of his creation. In all likelihood, Plagueis learned about Force healing, Force Dyads, and virgin births from his obsession with this dark side witch cult, as well as his apprentice, Chimere, who was essentially serving as a proxy for Plagueis because Plagueis was in hiding. The Acolyte connected the prequel and sequel trilogies and expanded the lore by deepening the lore, and that is one of the things both Colton and I loved about the Acolyte, despite its many narrative issues. I mean, you guys know how much I love Star Wars, and that's why I love designing Star Wars parody merch for our merch store, and I am so excited to finally show you these new Star Wars parody shirts. We have this brand new little guy booping the nose of a Rancor parody shirt. Evil will always triumph because good is dumb. One of my personal favorites, this shows Darth Vulcan, Marty McFly's suit from Back to the Future in Cloud City, a parody of this.
My name is Darth Vader. I am an extraterrestrial from the planet Vulcan.
And we've got new Marvel shirts like Loki Gator coming out of a toilet, this parody of Tony Stark creating Ultron on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and I Hate You 3000, a parody showing Mark I Iron Man armor and Doctor Doom's cloak. Guys, this is part of our huge Black Friday Cyber Monday sale where we've got collections on sale for up to 30% off. But to stay up to date on new discounts and hot new merch drops, please subscribe to our newsletter. You can find the link for that below. We love designing these shirts for you guys because it's fun. It's part of our interactive community. And I want to thank all of you on our Discord for giving us ideas of what you want to see on shirts. And also, like, at our live shows, you've been so great at talking to us and telling us what kind of things you want to see on the channel.
Wait, there's live shows?
Yes, there are live shows. We are on tour. Our next two shows this year are in Washington, D.C. and Chicago. You can find links below. And we're looking forward to meeting you, nerding out, and we're going to create a new ScreenCrush video with you live on stage. It's going to be so much fun. Links for everything are below. Also, guys, we are having a Black Friday sale for our tour. Use the code SCTOUR for 20% off tickets for any show, even the shows that are next year. This is a huge deal available only through Cyber Monday, so act fast.
Okay, so what's the theory?
Right, here's our theory. Mae and Osha were the result of dark side magic and a virgins in the Force that created the Force Dyad of, Mae and Osha, two very powerful Force users with high midichlorian counts. This inspired Darth Plagueis to pursue his obsession with eternal life. These secrets to eternal life, which were seemingly found exclusively within Force Dyads. And that is why Plagueis and Palpatine attempted to manipulate the Force and become a Force Dyad themselves, and create the power that would give them eternal life through the power of two. Virginses in the Force are the creation of life. Force healing is the restoration of life, and the Force Dyads are the bonding power of life. And all of them are directly connected and stem from the same source. And all three connect back to Palpatine's story about Plagueis in Revenge of the Sith. And with these three being connected, it would stand to reason that if Anakin is the product of a Virgins in the Force, then he would have an equally powerful cohort that was the other half of this Force Dyad. And that other being is Grogu. Anakin and Grogu were both born in the year 41 BBY. Grogu has a super high midichlorian count like Mae, Osha, and Anakin, and presumably like Rey and Ben. Grogu has proven to be a fast healer like Mae, Osha, Anakin, Rey, and Ben, and Grogu has mastered Force healing like Mae, Osha, Rey, and Ben.
Hey, I noticed you skipped Anakin when you talked about Force healing.
Yes, but there's an explanation for that. Force healing is a light side ability that the dark side seemingly corrupts, which is ironic considering that they're the ones who are obsessed with obtaining immortality. Ben couldn't use Force heal until he experienced it firsthand with Rey, and then turned to the light side come the end of Rise of Skywalker, and then used the ability to resurrect her. And we actually did see Anakin tap into his Force healing ability in the Clone Wars. There was an episode where he used the life energy of the Mortis God, the sister, to resurrect Ahsoka Tano. But it's pretty clear that Anakin's embrace of the dark side is what prevented him from mastering his ability, which is tragic because what pushed him over the edge was Sidious's promise that he could save Padme. Dyads are a yin and yang. One embraces the dark side and one embraces the light. And they can switch like Mae and Osha did, or like how we saw Rey tempted with the dark side and Ben tempted with the light. With Anakin and Grogu, Anakin obviously was the darker half and Grogu was the light. And let me be clear, Anakin and Grogu being born in the same year and Grogu's high M count and ability to force heal aren't the only reasons we think these two could be a dyad in the Force. The other piece of evidence lies in the fact that the Jedi Order treated Grogu as a very valuable asset. Remember in that flashback episode in The Mandalorian when we saw all those Jedi falling on their swords to protect Grogu and get him to safety? This wasn't just because he's so freaking cute, it's because he was special. It's because he was the other side of the Force Dyad that the Jedi Order was trying to keep hidden. The Acolyte brilliantly reminded us just how corrupt the Jedi Order was. George Lucas himself was adamant in the fact that the Jedi's hubris was responsible for their own downfall, and this series showed us just how prone to cover-ups the Jedi Order was.
That you are running a murder investigation without reporting it to the Senate.
I'm keeping this internal for the moment.
But not just the Acolyte. I mean, the Clone Wars show and the prequels also showed Yoda himself push for cover-ups.
Cover up this discovery. We must. No one, not even the Chancellor, may know.
We think that after Qui-Gon brought Anakin before the Council and revealed him as a virgin in the Force, with their knowledge from the events of the Acolyte, might have begun their search for the other half of this dyad. That other half being Grogu. And this is something that we could see explored in the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu movie, as well as in the new Star Wars trilogy that will hopefully feature Rey and Grogu together. And in that movie, we could see another Jedi and Mandalorian war begin to brew, and then see Grogu become a Mandalorian Jedi just like Tar Vizsla before him.
Vizsla, the first Mandalorian ever inducted into the Jedi Order.
And that would once again be an example of the Disney era of Lucasfilm tying together generations of Star Wars stories to enrich the lore. And it's in this movie that we could learn that Rey and Grogu together can bond as a Force Dyad because they both come from the same Force Dyad lineage.
What do you mean?
Well, if we assume that Mae and Osha were the catalyst for Plagueis and Palpatine attempting to create a dyad of their own, and if that is what created Anakin Skywalker and Grogu, then that would draw a straight line between these two dyads. With Rey being a Palpatine and Ben Solo being a Skywalker, that could explain why, despite them being born a decade apart, they were still able to rekindle this generational dyad. So, in the words of a ScreenCrush thumbnail, everything connects.
So guys, let us know, do you think that Anakin and Grogu are a dyad in the Force? And will we see Rey and Grogu rekindle that dyad in future Star Wars projects? Be sure to let us know what you think down in the comments below or on our Discord server, or let me and Colton know what you think on our various social media links that we have linked down for you below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe to the channel and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.